freedoms are eaten up a little at a time, while government controls are slipped on, while the real power is collected into a few hands. Where government is not limited, no man is free. The way to change what we have, take all power and all freedoms away from the people and collect everything into the hands of one small group with absolute power.
The Patriot Act was already written, waiting on the shelf, and it was passed, I think, within 2 days of 9/11. If you look at the massive document, it obviously wasn't written overnight. So what they've done is to tell us that they can't protect Americans from terrorism unless they infringe our civil liberties.
The Patriot Act and all of these other pieces of legislation are supposed to protect our freedom from terrorists or somebody. But when you look at the essence of these pieces of legislation, they take our freedom away. And it just doesn't make sense that you accomplish your objective by working against it.
The Patriot Act is an apparent response to 9/11, but in fact was a long-planned imposition of government control over the people. On the basis of we must stop the terrorists, they've introduced legislation designed to stop the people.
The Patriot Act is pointed at the American people. We are the target. It is designed to destroy the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. It is designed to destroy our due process. The Patriot Act states in Section 802 that terrorism isn't just bombing things or shooting people anymore, but any action that violates any federal or state law. Literally, jaywalking is terrorism under Section 802 of the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act is pointed at the men and women of the United States. It is designed to destroy our due process.
That the people have been fooled, duped, made to think that they have to buy security by giving up their constitutional rights. This is untrue. This is false. You do not have to give up your constitutional rights in order to be safe. Indeed, if you give up your constitutional rights, you cannot be safe. You will not be safe. Your government can do far worse things to you than any terrorist. Has far more power over you. The only thing that mitigates that power and gives you a shield of protection are your civil liberties. And so if you lose your civil liberties in order to be safe from terrorists, you will be the most unsafe people on the face of the earth.
In my opinion, I think what has happened here is, the American people tend to not really pay all that much attention to our government unless our government really overreaches its bounds. And so for years and years and years, the federal government has continued to step more and more into areas where they don't belong. They've reached their dirty little fingers into areas where they don't belong. But what they've done to the American people is they've done it, or they've served it to the American people a thimbleful at a time. They've given it to them a little bit more and a little bit more. And it looks like maybe when served a thimbleful at a time, the American people are a lot more likely to go ahead and receive it or swallow it, so to speak.
Today, let's visit the airport of a large city. This is the main building of the airport. It's called the Terminal Building. At this airport, many planes come and go every day.
Announcing the departure of Flight 609, now loading at Gate 1. Flight 609, now loading at Gate 1. Have your tickets ready, please.
Alongside problem, reaction, solution comes the totalitarian tiptoe, as I call it. This works like this. You know you're going there from the start. But you know if you go there in big leaps, the change is going to be so vast that people are going to kind of look up from the television game show and go, hold on, honey, what's going on? Sorry, honey, I thought you were asleep. I was. Lift their head from the game show, and they're going to say, what's going on? So they do it like that. They go from A to B, and then to D, and then maybe to E. They go as quickly as they can and as far as they can with each step, but not so far that they get a big public reaction.
what they've done is they've decided to go ahead and just really, instead of trying to serve up their encroachments a thimbleful at a time, they're trying to serve it to the American people in 5-gallon buckets. Well, when the federal government oversteps its bounds in 5-gallon buckets, the American people wake up.
I want a police officer. I think she molested me. I want a police officer now! No! I want a police officer! She just molested me! For God's sake, somebody help me!
It happened at Armstrong International Airport in New Orleans. 6-year-old Anna Drexel is patted down by a TSA agent. The gloved agent explaining what she's doing at each step. Patting down her sides, her waistband, and bottom.
And then the sensitive area was in the back of my hand.
Afterwards, her mother says little Anna cried, wondering what she'd done wrong.
TSA is investigating this video of a 3-year-old boy in a wheelchair being patted down at airport security. The boy was wearing a leg cast. He was being examined at Chicago's O'Hare Airport. We don't know when this happened, but the video was uploaded this weekend. The video seems to be shot by the boy's father.
More complaints of absurd pat-downs by the TSA. This time the air traveler isn't a kid, but an elderly woman who was forced to remove her adult diaper. A Florida woman says security agents asked her 95-year-old mother, who is in a wheelchair, to remove her diaper so they could complete a full search.
Well, the TSA is under fire tonight after an agent at the Lihue airport told a breastfeeding mother she could not board a flight to Maui with her breast pump until it was filled with milk.
The TSA agent ordered her to fill her breast pump with milk in order to get through security with the equipment. The high school vice principal was forced to pump her breasts in a busy public restroom at the Lihue airport.
Tonight we're hearing about another security pat-down horror story at Charlotte Douglas International Airport. This time it's from a local flight attendant and cancer survivor who says she was forced to show her prosthetic breasts during a pat-down. Her story is part of a growing backlash against intrusive new security measures at our nation's airports, and her story is also all new tonight at 11 o'clock.
If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and, well, it probably is a duck. But that is not the case for some House GOP members when it comes to TSA officers. Outraged over recent strip searches of the elderly and pat-downs of toddlers, they are backing a bill that would ban TSA officers from using the title officer, wearing a badge, or wearing uniforms resembling those of police officers. It's called the Stop TSA's Reach and Policy Act, or the Strip Act.
They are not officers. They are not federal law enforcement officers. They do not get any federal law enforcement officer training. They are not eligible for those benefits. And even though they have gone to wearing these uniforms, which they did this through administrative rulemaking, not through coming to Congress, they wear the uniforms, they wear the badge. We still have had over 25,000 breaches. And what we are saying is, look, these are screeners. You have reclassified their job title to say officers. You did that administratively. They should go back to being screeners and focus on protecting the flying public, not to overreaching their authority because they're wearing a law enforcement uniform and a badge. They advertise for screeners on pizza boxes and at discount gas stations in the Washington, D.C. area.
Right.
They do not have to go through this law enforcement training. Maybe they should stop impersonating federal law enforcement officers and stop the overreach.
It was this past Sunday night here at LAX about 7:30, probably crowded because a lot of people were coming home from the New Year's holiday, when suddenly a man starts acting strangely. He starts saying, "I'm God, I'm in charge." LAX police and arrest that man, and he turns out to be a TSA agent. They are the first line of defense in airport security, Transportation Security Administration agents. But there have been 2 troubling incidents involving LAX TSA agents recently. A source tells Channel 4 News a TSA agent was arrested on January 3rd here at Terminal 1 at LAX. He'd just gotten off duty and was behaving erratically, saying, "I am God, I'm in charge." The agent was arrested under the welfare code and could have been hospitalized in protective custody for up to 72 hours. Meanwhile, a TSA internal affairs investigation turned up evidence of LAX TSA agents using drugs at an after-hours party.
The investigation turned on a bungled drug shipment that led to an arrest and information that TSA screeners were taking bribes to let parcels of cocaine, meth, and marijuana through security.
The 43-year-old TSA agent pleaded guilty to conspiracy to defraud the United States for using her unique role as a behavior detection officer to escort a local drug dealer as he carried a large amount of cash through security at Buffalo Niagara International Airport.
What? Not again? Oh yeah, again. TSA agents accused of stealing tens of thousands of dollars from airline passengers' checked baggage, but this time at JFK. So far, $39,980 has been recovered.
Police say that a man wearing a TSA uniform flashed a badge to a woman in Manassas and then sexually assaulted her. They say that man is 52-year-old TSA employee Harold Rodman.
A TSA agent under arrest charged with lewd and lascivious molestation of a minor. Police say he tried to keep a girl as a sex slave.
Police arrested 57-year-old Charles Bennett after a 15-year-old reported him to police.
TSA worker at Logan Airport arrested, accused of raping a 14-year-old girl, and there is more.
The TSA themselves say it's perfectly fine to videotape their checkpoints.
Really?
This gentleman tells, yes,
really?
On their website.
Sir, I have quoted to him, my standard operating procedure says specifically, there are no photographs permitted to be taken of the screening process.
Could I see it?
No, you cannot.
So there's a secret rule.
No, there isn't a secret rule. I know what it is. I'm the terminal manager. It's my Okay, first of all, you can't even tape in this building. You have to get permission from Terminal 4 to film in this building, number one. Number two, you can't double time. You can't tape their activities because we don't know who you are. We don't know what you are.
You have my ID. He's run my
And what does that
information.
mean? What does that mean, honestly?
I have no
Absolutely,
idea.
exactly. Not a damn thing. So this is a
Then
deal.
why did he ask for it?
You're going to stop it. You're going to rewind. From where you taping their activities, you're going to stop and you're going to delete all of that, then you can leave.
I'm not going to delete videotape.
You're not going to delete the videotape?
No, sir.
Are you sure about that? You sure that's what you want to do? You sure that's what you want to do? I'm just asking, are you sure that's what you want to do?
I have no desire to delete videotape because I'm being threatened.
No problem. You're not being threatened, you're going to be arrested. That's not a threat.
It's my ex-husband. We call him Theo. These are like my cousins and sobrinos and nephews. How you doing, sir?
Hello, I'm doing good. Turn it off.
What?
Turn it off.
Turn it on?
Turn it off.
Why?
Why? Because I'm going to deny you access. Otherwise, you can't be filming us. Turn it off.
That's not true, though. That's not true, sir.
Supervisor.
Sir, you know, sir, how long have you been working at TSA?
Supervisor. Supervisor.
Go on, I'll meet you guys inside.
This gentleman's refusing to turn it.
Sir, I'm doing a video and he's
going inside. Go ahead. Yeah, what? You can't tape anything he's doing.
Oh, no, that's not true, sir. That's, I mean, are you a supervisor?
I'm not
arguing with you. Are you a supervisor?
Well, I haven't verified stuff yet. He's refusing to turn his filming.
Sir, you want to give your stuff away?
Give my stuff where?
He needs your ID.
Yeah, give it to him. He has my ID.
Oh, so
he's filming the camera.
He just can't film you on his phone. Oh, he turned it off. We can get the M1. I mean, that's what.
This, sir, the policy of TSA is you are allowed to record on the checkpoint.
No, you're not.
Is that not correct?
You're not correct.
I'm not correct. So why did it say that on the TSA website?
I don't know, but you're going to talk to it. We'll take care of that part.
All right. Well, that was a little adventure. I mean, I was detained. My aunt was detained. The rest of the Colombians were freaking out. And I think it's time for a beer, man. I haven't had a beer in 2 days. So I'm going to have one right now.
There's a dangerous new weapon on the streets. It's scaring police officers across the country. More and more people are carrying it as it becomes cheaper and more available every day. That weapon is the camera.
Cut it off.
I'm not shutting it off,
officer. Well, you going to jail. Get off the motorcycle, state police.
You keep filming me, I'm going to take it from you, understand?
I'm not putting the camera down until you
Hey, we're rolling, bud. We're rolling. You hit me.
You can't take pictures on federal property. You need to. That's the law.
Property is being protected.
Turn the camera off.
No, sir.
Turn the camera off.
No, sir.
You want to go to jail?
Got off. I don't want that. Get that away from my face, sir.
I'm not going to shut it off.
You got any ID on you?
I don't.
Turn the camera away.
No, sir. You're a public officer.
Sorry.
So I have the right to
videotape you.
You can just turn that off.
Why?
Because I asked you to.
There's no law against it.
Just turn it off.
I'll put it down here.
But turn it off. I asked you to turn it off.
I'm not going to turn it off. You're a public officer.
You're a public officer on the public street. Okay, let's go on down the road then. What's the deal?
Going down the road where?
I just asked you not to do that, okay? I don't want a picture taken.
Well, sir, you're a public officer.
That's fine, you bet.
Please don't touch our camera.
Now talk to me.
Please don't touch our camera, sir. Please don't do that.
You guys are going to have to cooperate with me.
Well, we're cooperating. There's nothing wrong with filming.
Turn that off.
Sir, we're not going to turn it off. This is not Nazi Germany. This is not Communist Russia. This is the United States of America. Turn that off.
Turn it off.
No, sir. It's a public street.
Yeah, he does.
It's a private street, sir. This is a private camera. This is a private
I'm
camera,
asking
sir.
you, I do not want to be photographed right now, so turn it off.
Sir, you're in a public street. This is a public sidewalk.
Turn it off.
And this is a private camera. You cannot touch this camera.
I'm telling you, turn it off.
What have I done that is breaking the law?
Is that on audio?
Yeah, it's video. It's audio, video.
Recording video also?
Yeah. Go on.
And sound?
Yeah, video and
Okay,
sound.
you need to hand me your camera.
How come?
You need to hand me your camera.
Okay.
I'm telling you, you can't videotape and record our boys without our permission. And if you're doing it, we're going to arrest you. I don't want to get arrested. Well, then turn it off. You guys need something?
This is my front yard. I'm just recording what you're doing. It's my right.
Actually, not from the sidewalk.
This is my yard.
You're not listening to our orders right now. We don't feel safe with you standing behind us. You're not moving even a foot further back. You're going to be.
Do you want me to move a foot further back?
You're going to be under arrest. I already warned you.
I will move a foot further back. I'm not going to go inside my house. I feel like I need the fresh air right now. I'm going to back up.
You know what? You're going to go to jail. That's just not right. Where's it called? No. Stay right here.
I'm sorry. I'm asking them I'm observing what they're doing and they're arresting me. I don't understand what's going on. I did nothing. I'm not doing anything.
It's a debate going on here in the Bay Area and in cities across the country. Should people be allowed to videotape cops on the job? Well, tonight a new court ruling may bring an end to that argument. 10 News reporter Adam Freeman showing us how it gives you the freedom to keep filming.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How you doing tonight?
It's happened to a college student in Tarpon Springs.
What the Tarpon Springs police did was wrong.
To a homeowner in New York.
You're not listening to our orders right now.
Even a news photographer.
Put it down. Put it down. Put it down. You're under arrest.
All arrested for simply videotaping police on duty. Only problem? It's not illegal. A U.S. Court of Appeals in Boston has now confirmed that with a ruling saying filming cops in a public place is your choice, protected by the First Amendment, regardless of what an officer tells you.
It was stunning video posted on the internet for all to see, and it came with a charge that police masqueraded as protesters at this week's Montebello summit to incite violence. Tonight, an equally stunning admission from Quebec's provincial police.
Contrary to media reports, the protest was peaceful and almost carnival-like, but the police ramped up their presence as if they were expecting a riot. After about 3 hours, someone at the back of the protest started throwing rocks and bottles towards the front line. I saw one protester get hit in the head with a rock. Unlike other reporters, I didn't have a helmet or gas mask for protection, so I decided to move to the back of the protest and do some follow-up interviews. That's when I happened upon this scene.
No. Put the rock down, man. Put the rock down. Hey. Put the rock down. This is our line. Get out of town. Cops out of town.
Communications, Energy and Paper Workers Union President Dave Coles was confronting these three masked men with rocks and bottles and accusing them of being police officers. You can see from this footage that they were intent on starting a riot. Watch as the gloved hand of one of these provocateurs hits a member of the riot squad in the face mask. Now watch as he changes hands with the rock and then bangs it into a riot shield. These masked men were attempting to violently disrupt an otherwise peaceful protest. They were breaking the law and violating the constitutionally guaranteed rights of the protesters. The whole scene was surreal. I knew Dave Coles had managed to reveal the face of one of the provocateurs, but I didn't have footage of the other two. I changed roles from independent journalist to citizen on patrol and made sure I captured a second face. The action of these three masked men and the reaction of the riot squad was highly suspect, but ultimately it was the matching boots that gave the provocateurs away. That night I posted the footage on YouTube. For the next 4 days, it was a national and international news story. The Sûreté de Quebec denied any involvement, but on the 4th day, they finally admitted it was their officers.
As we confirmed yesterday, the 3 people in question were indeed Sûreté de Quebec police officers performing their duties.
Well, in Montebello, Quebec in 2007, there was 3 police officers who were dressed as aggressive protesters with rocks in their hands, wearing masks, in an attempt to incite violence.
These 3 guys are cops, everybody!
George, as a representative of the Toronto Police, can you assure us that the Toronto Police Force will not engage in any police agent, provocateur agent activities at the G20 summit?
Security matters, I'm not at liberty to discuss those in an open forum. Obviously, with these people coming to town, this is a huge international event. It puts Toronto on the global stage. We obviously have to take the steps that we deem necessary to provide that protection for them to visit Canada.
We would accept you. Chance.
You think it's funny to mock our First Amendment rights? You think that's funny? It's in the fucking Constitution.
What if they dressed up like police?
It's sharp. No justice, no peace. Fuck the police. No justice, no peace. Fuck the police.
No justice, no peace. Fuck the police. No justice, no peace. Fuck the police.
Bring it back up.
By order of the City of Pittsburgh Chief Police, I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately disperse. You must leave the immediate vicinity. If you remain in this immediate vicinity, you will be in violation of the Pennsylvania Crimes Code. No matter what your purpose is, you must leave. If you do not disperse, you may be arrested and or subject to other police action. Other police action may include actual physical removal, the use of riot control agents.
By order of the Chief of Police, clear this area, or you are subject to arrest.
You are an American citizen, and you shall be arrested for having freedom of speech and using the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. The Constitution is a very dangerous concept. Do not dare try to invoke the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. This is no longer America. This is Walmart, United States of America.
Kids aren't your enemies. Wall Street bankers are your enemies. Your neighbors aren't your enemies. Wall Street billionaires are your enemies. Wall Street billionaires stole hundreds of millions of dollars from police pension funds. They're the ones who are the criminals. They get away with it, but they wear a suit and tie. We're not your enemies. You're not our enemies. You're our neighbors. It's the system that allows your retirement funds to be stolen from you, which is going to make it harder for your kids to go to college, to make their lives better than yours. The American dream. We're not your enemies, man. I got thousands of dollars in student debt. I didn't get a bailout. How is that fair? Some of your neighbors and friends have been foreclosed on. They didn't get a bailout. How is that fair? I'm just saying, I'm not your enemy. I don't want to do you harm. But I think we need to find our common ground here.
Then open your bag.
I thought as long as he's not within the 5 meters, though, it's fine.
Isn't that the case? This is our area. 5 meter, right? Where you go? What's that?
I won't consent to a search, so I'll leave.
You don't get it. You don't get a choice. Get moving.
Where are you grabbing me?
Get moving. So take off.
In Canada, that's something that's...
Yeah, this ain't Canada right now.
I just don't like to have my civil rights violated.
There is no civil rights here in this area. Is there? How many times you got to be told that?
But there are. That's within 5 years of the fence, there's no civil rights. That's what the legislation said on Monday.
If that was the rule, we'd all be behind the fence.
The investigation I'm reporting on today is the first of several public attempts to get to the bottom of exactly what happened here during the week of the summit, why it happened, and what can be done to ensure it never happens again. My investigation focused on the province's role in promoting what became known as the secret security regulation, a little known and widely misunderstood legal measure that was supposed to help the police keep the peace, but in my view, wound up contributing to massive violations of civil rights. Some people in the ministry were rightly concerned about the optics of using wartime legislation, but others saw the regulation as mere technicality. So the decision was made not to publicize it. Instead, they quietly handed the police extravagant, sweeping powers under 71-year-old law. Powers that would almost certainly be illegal and unconstitutional under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Little did they realize that once this powerful weapon was unleashed, it would be almost impossible to control. Reviving this dormant piece of legislation, coupled with the adoption of the regulation, created a legal landscape where people were detained by the police and compelled to identify themselves, answer questions, and submit to warrantless searches, even if they simply wanted to walk away. Apart from a coterie of senior officials in government and the Toronto Police Service, no one else was aware of the existence of this regulation or the fact that they would trigger what amounted to martial law in downtown Toronto. Police do not have the right to detain people arbitrarily and force them under threat of law to identify themselves and be searched on the spot. And for the citizens of Toronto, the days up to and including the weekend of the G20 will live in infamy as a time period where martial law set in the city of Toronto, leading to the most massive compromise of civil liberties in Canadian history. And we can never let that happen again.
The behavior of the police shows, again, the militarization of the police, because they were very aggressive toward people who weren't causing any trouble. And I believe the police were frankly disappointed that there wasn't more trouble for them to beat up on, and so they, on their own, went into neighborhoods with their new weapons or protest suppression systems and just sort of arbitrarily abused people. So it's a further indication that the police agencies of the government are now separate from people that they're supposed to protect.
In commando practice, cadet officers learn how a group of men working as one can be an effective wedge between destructive mobs and the peaceful citizen and his property. He began to see the importance of prevention whenever possible. Prevention of accidents and prevention of crime. He had proved himself to be alert, willing to take orders and carry them out, and firm but courteous in his contacts with the public.
This is what a police officer used to be, and that's what I was on the city of Phoenix. I was a friend of the people. But today, this is what we have. This one is your enforcer, and he's enforcing the New World Order locally, state, and federally. I began to change. I began to see that I was part of a corrupt system, a very evil system, and I wasn't going to do it. When they gave me an immoral order or an unlawful order, I said, no, I won't do it. That was it for my career.
Later on in life, you got out of the Marine Corps, you got into law enforcement. Is that when you started asking questions once you learned more about the civilian role?
Towards my end in law enforcement, when I started getting discouraged with it, yes, that's when I started quitting. But when you're younger and you're trying to achieve, and you got all the fancy jewelry on and all the badge and the car with all the nice decals and lights, and you're disillusioned by a lot of different things once reality hits. And just the way law enforcement's changed a lot. It's changing a lot.
How has it changed?
How people perceive law enforcement is more of an occupying army than somebody that's there to be part of that community and help that community.
Violence in society is not caused by the people. It's caused by the neglect of leadership. And the police are the #1 cause of violence in society. They make the people jittery. They make the people insecure. Plus, if you look up what a police officer is in the Black's Law Dictionary, the only thing the police are supposed to be doing is keeping the peace. And they do not. So whose fault is it when you have violence in society if you're paying taxes to have peace in society and moral justice? The police are supposed to be the epitome of morality. Our children are supposed to look at a police officer and see an example of what a citizen is. Now they fear them. So if our children don't even respect the police, how are they going to respect the law?
Before people knew the law enforcement officer that patrolled their neighborhood or could go down to the city police department and ask for help, where now it's more of a you're making trouble for yourself by going to report a crime, or just the perception that people have of law enforcement. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some great cops out there, some of the best, and they're still there doing the job, and there's no one comes up there doing the job. But for the most part, it's treated like a occupying army. You're seeing a lot more of the training of putting distance between yourself and the people you're trying to protect.
Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson?
Oh, yeah.
You mean George Washington?
Oh, yeah.
Paul Revere?
Yeah.
These guys right here, let me ask you something. Did they try to scare people?
Oh, yeah.
They tried to intimidate the British. Did they use acts of violence? Your founding fathers, my founding fathers, were involved in acts of terrorism against British officials because they systematically had British officials assassinated. The guys who we call our founding fathers, George Washington, Mr. Honest, who cut down a cherry tree and admitted it, is the same guy who signed death orders, if you will, on members of the British government, the British Crown, who they wanted to eliminate because politically they had influence in certain pockets of the United States, at that time the 13 colonies, and they wanted to divide and conquer. See, this is reality. Yeah, they're terrorists, but the bottom line is to them, they are not. Now, why is that important to understand? Because they are as committed to their cause and to their way of life as you are yours. And they see you as being wrong.
To force their unpopular agenda upon the planet, the controllers are racing to complete the construction of their police state control grid. Borrowing from tactics used in the past by communist, fascist, and other totalitarian regimes, every form of classical textbook tyranny is now being implemented in the West. In the United States, the central government is federalizing local police.
State and local officers are in a great position to collect important information on terrorists and their allies, and the Terrorist Screening Center stands ready to help you.
This video, produced by Homeland Security, is required viewing for all departments in the U.S.
And with the teamwork of local, state, and federal law enforcement, we have an excellent opportunity to see the picture and solve the puzzle before these terrorists can strike again.
State, county, and city police now take their marching orders directly from DHS and FEMA. The videos and training manuals turn peace officers, once guardians of the Republic, into secret police.
See way down there? There's a woman taking photos of the dam. Someone called 911 and reported a suspicious person. As you guessed, she's gonna be a Category 3 hit. And since it's very important that we don't let her know that we know, both the dispatcher and the officer need to make sure she doesn't hear the radio traffic.
Stand by. If I could ask you to wait right here, please.
Sure.
Everyday items and activities are listed as proof that you are sympathizing with shadowy boogeymen of terror.
Of course, he's going to keep his eyes open for anything interesting or unusual in the car. That would include cameras, binoculars, video equipment, GPS, maybe things like sleeping bags that suggest they're living out of the car.
From their inception, Homeland Security and Northcom were set up to dominate the people and the states, not to fight the CIA-created Al-Qaeda.
You are dealing with a human being. They are just human beings. They'll tell you, I'm an agent for the government, I'm a peace officer, I'm this, I'm that. No, you are a human being in a common law jurisdiction, and that's all there is to it. That's first and foremost, and I'm not forgetting that. If you remember that, they have to remember that. The key thing about remembering this is you can remember a couple of things. Yes, you can affect them. You can use, they will respond to emotion, they will respond to threats, they'll respond to a baseball bat in the bottom of their knee. They will respond. They will also respond to love, compassion, and truth. They are human beings, and if you treat them with the dignity that all human beings are worthy of, they will respond as a human being as well.
Are you recording me right now?
Yes.
Are you trying to make us point?
No, it's for my protection.
Oh, this is not a third world nation. I'm a retired Marine too. Of course you can.
Protecting my rights, sir.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. If you're a police officer, what do you want to do? Make sure it's safe, right?
Correct.
You're lawful, you did what you're supposed to do. Can I see some identification to verify who you are?
I have any on me.
You have none on you?
No.
Okay, let me just take your name down. You haven't got anything else on here, right?
I'm not required to provide my information.
Well, you're required to identify who you are. You don't have to show identification. You can do it verbally. Can you do that? You can't do that at all.
No.
Okay.
It's not a stop 90 stature.
What's your last name? Jeremy?
I'm not going to tell you your last name.
Okay. You're not going to load up, right, while you're walking down the street?
No.
Okay. Well, it should look good on YouTube either way. You already getting code 4? I don't know. Sometimes people do it. I understand. And you're right. I'm the first one to be an advocate for that. Make sure you get a good picture of me so you know exactly what I look like. Because you've got a statement to make here. I'm all for that. Believe me. After 22 years in the Marine Corps, I don't have a problem with that. The problem I have is that we also have a lot of folks during the holidays. And sometimes they have other issues going on, and we don't know what your agenda is.
Okay.
Jeremy, thanks for your cooperation.
Thank you, sir.
And remember, my name is Officer Lyons with the Oceanside Police Department. My badge number is 1093. God bless America.
Right.
See you later, Jeremy.
Don't look at them as anything more than simply a human being using a tool. And the tool that they are using is words. If someone comes up to you and points to a body of words and says, this body of words gives me authority over you, and you say, really? What does that word right there mean? And they say, I don't know. What just happened to their authority? Gone. They have to know what the words in their own mandates mean. And this is where we have what their tool that they use against us, now we're going to use it against them, because some of these words are very deceptive. They're ambiguous at least. These deceptive words, words that have ambiguous meanings that open up and allow for a change or a shift in the power structure, these words are deceptive, they're ambiguous, you can ask questions. You can bring these human beings who are using words to claim authority, ask them questions concerning the deceptive words, and if they don't know the answer, their authority is gone. You don't need any anger, you don't need any hatred, you don't need any violence whatsoever, just a mind and ask some questions.
A difficult thing for some people to understand is what's happening today is not just an elite making a final move to take over anything. Every generation for hundreds of years has been brought up with the same elite's predecessors, designing and running the show for each generation. The elite, in fact, are simply moving their system into a new system, an updated system to suit themselves. That's a hard concept for people to grasp. They've been trained to believe things are happening at the moment by happenstance, by crisis coming out of nowhere. And here's what we must do. We must solve this problem at the time. Nothing is further from the truth.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Why don't we learn from the mistakes of our ancestors? Why does humankind find itself bound in a cycle of bloodshed and enslavement?
If we look now at the speed at which this police state is being imposed and this political centralization is being imposed, then forget the speed it's been imposed in up to this point, fast as it's been since 9/11, because the more power they centralize and therefore have in their hands, the quicker they can introduce this police state. So we're going to see it getting faster and faster until humanity wakes up and starts to decide it wants to take a different course. Because if it doesn't, if we sit on our backsides and watch the latest soap and watch the news and believe what we're told, if we go on in that dream world, then we are going to live in a world envisaged and described by Orwell, basically, within 10 years.
If the New World Order succeeds, you're looking at an invincible police state. You're looking at a brainwashed population with brainwashed secret police who literally just press on the nerve of power, as George Orwell said, and we're looking at a boot stomping on a human face forever.
If you want a vision of the future, Winston, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever.
What we are going to see more of as these years unfold is more chaos, problems created to create more fear, because that's the four-letter word that controls the world. Once people are in fear, they look outside of themselves for someone or something to protect them from what they've been manipulated to fear. A population or a person who's not in fear is a nightmare to manipulate and control. Someone who's in fear, piece of cake.
This generation today, the ones who are alive today, we are the generation that's going through the biggest changes in history, according to even Rockefeller himself, since the Industrial Revolution. It's the end of one phase of a long-term plan. And out of this comes a new world order. As they've said, Mr. Brown said, the Prime Minister of Great Britain said at the G20 meeting recently, it's a new world order. A different order from the previous one, where people technically were working for themselves, would choose their own employment and so on. The new world order is a planned system, a planned economy, a planned population. So it's up to us. It's not up to the next generation to change this. We're the only ones who can possibly do the changing.
How long is it going to be before you finally resist and say, no, I will not comply? Period. That's a different answer for each person. Ask yourself now, because sooner or later you're going to come to that line, and when they cross it, what are you going to say? Well, okay, cross this line. Okay, now cross that line. Okay, now cross this line. And pretty soon you're in a corner. Sooner or later you've got to draw a line and stand your ground, whether anybody else does or not.
So, are we going to make a stand now and draw a line in the sand and say here and no further? In fact, we're going to roll this back? Or are we going to wait until it's got really, really extreme, by which time there'll be so much infrastructure in place that drawing a line in the sand will be a serious challenge? And it's no good. I said to some policemen in Parliament Square a few months ago, ask yourself, when your child says to you, "Mummy and Daddy, what were you doing when the police state was introduced?" Oh, well, I was watching the telly, honey. Or in the policeman's case, I was helping to introduce it, dear. That's the situation we're facing. And you know, if people don't like it, well, they just have to do the other thing, because this is how it is. And we either face it now, or we face it a little bit further along the road, when if we think it's not very good now, it'll be a bloody nightmare by then. It's time to lift the arse off the sofa and bring an end to this nonsense, because otherwise we're just building our own prison cell or sitting around while someone does it. Is that sensible? I think not.
We have been labeled rebels, traitors, enemies of the state, all terms King George would have used to vilify our founders. I, for one, will always rebel against oppression, a traitor only to tyranny, and I would be remiss to not make myself the enemy of a state that so blatantly tramples our freedoms. American values have been nearly vanquished by consumerism, militarism, and authoritarianism. Yellow ribbons and lapel pins will not save this country. When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. The utmost manifestation of love and devotion to America is today, as it always has been, resistance of tyranny. Resist we must, and resist we will. We will not be silent, we will not obey, we will not let our government destroy our humanity. We will not wait another moment in fear to stand up for what we know to be right. It is time we start meeting oppression with resistance. They cannot stop us. Humanity marches on. You can fight it or fight for it. When we say revolution, we say it with love. This young movement is getting past the external wounds to the greater evils plaguing this nation. We know that the greatest threat to American security is the current corruption of our government. No politician has ever ended a war. Civil rights were won in this country not by any legislator, but by a movement. I have great hope for America, but it comes not from any election. No, my hope comes from you. Our tragic love affair with the state has led us to put far too much trust in a government that we thought could improve our lives, but has instead come to rule our lives for us. We have become, as a people, like a frightened, battered, beat-down victim of an abusive relationship. A servile, unquestioning, obedient people will always produce tyrants. We must, as a nation, once again, embrace defiance, rebellion, and resistance. Every day, more and more Americans are avoiding unenforceable taxes, leaving government jobs out of disgust, and sending their kids to college instead of combat. But our efforts as a movement must become unified and deliberate to fully withdraw our support and compliance. Be it with your lives, labor, or tax dollars, stop investing in your own oppression. Guard your communities from the police state. Don't waste a single vote or a single dollar on the two-party system. Do not be content merely to grumble and to march while they are using fear, force, and violence as weapons of oppression. We must embrace the opportunity to resist civilly while we still can. It has been said that when in the course of human events, an oppression so revolts its subjects that it becomes necessary to alter or abolish the means of that tyranny. Is it that time when our Bill of Rights is defiled every day? When our adventures abroad threaten our security at home? When the Federal Reserve keeps our free nation enslaved by debt? When the people of the world tremble under the thumb of corporate imperialism? And now, our nation is drifting dangerously from freedom to fascism. So I have to ask, is it time?
But here's the issue. National TV, the Drudge Report, Infowars.com, the whole world's watching. And what we learned from Texas will be used in other states to beat you globalist agents and mercenaries. That's And when we take America back, you Nazis are going to prison. Believe it. The lobbyists that serve tyranny, the politicians that serve tyranny are going to prison. This is only the beginning. The answer to 1984 is 1776.
In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Silence is consent. Can you hear us now? Silence is consent. Because while we're silent on these impositions, the impositions just keep going on and on and on. By our silence, we are acquiescing, even agreeing to them being imposed. The end of silence, the end of acquiescence. If we want to be free, then don't run and hide. Comply! No! No, no! Not if it's enslaving me and my children and imposing on my freedom. Comply! Leave your home now it's foreclosed. No! 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 Let's follow this through, shall we? Millions of people in the world are losing their homes, being foreclosed, and ending up homeless. Let's follow this through. Why have you lost your home, my friend? Because I can't pay me mortgage. Why can't you pay your mortgage? Because I lost my job. Why did you lose your job? Because the great banking collapse, they can't get this, they can't get my company went bust. And who's taking your home away and saying you've got to leave? The banks that caused the frickin' problem, and we are leaving? What are we doing? What are we doing? No, we won't leave when the banks have caused the problem and now they're telling us to leave to take the assets. No, we won't. And people who are not being foreclosed need to support those that are. We're all in this together. You must do what we say. We have changed the law. Not if you are imposing on my freedom and my rights to be a free citizen with a free voice. No, no, no. What are they going to do? They come out of Downing Street, whether it's Clegg and his mate bloody Cameron, or it's bloody Obama, or whoever it is in America, and they say, we've had a discussion and this is what we're going to do. What if vast numbers of people say, well, we ain't doing it? They've got no power whatsoever. Their power comes in our acquiescence. Oh, but you can't defy the law. Okay, let's follow this through, shall we? By the way, while I'm talking, put your arms out and I'll put the handcuffs on, because that's what you're telling me. What you're telling me is this. We have no say in laws that are passed. And then we have to obey those laws. Well, okay, forget freedom then. Okay, what if they passed a law that says we take your children away? Would you obey it? No. So there is a line then. There is a line. It's just where is that line? And if a law does not respect human freedom, it does not respect human justice, it doesn't respect fair play, we should not be acquiescing to those laws. We should be refusing to acquiesce. What we need is not compliance, we need a non-compliance, where we beat to a different drum and we dance to a different drum, where we refuse to acquiesce to this control system that seeks to enslave us even more than it already has. Non-compliance. Do this, comply. No. No. But we need to do it en masse. We do it with a smile on our face. We're consciousness. All that has been, ever will be. Why shouldn't we have a smile on our face? And smile and feel for these people who are enclosed in mind trying to enslave us. I am all that is, has been, ever will be. You cannot grant me my freedom. It is not your gift to grant me my freedom or take it away, because I am, we all are, freedom. Enough. Enough of this suppression. Enough of this slavery. Enough of this enslavement of the few by the many. Human race, get off your knees. What are we doing down there? As the poet Shelley said, rise like lions after slumber in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep had fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few. Enough! It's time to fly. It's time to fly. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Illuminati, you've come to take control. You can take my heartbeat, but you can break my soul. We all shall be free. Illuminati, you'll never take control. Your new world order will lead to none at all. We all shall be free.
There's a time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Somewhere a perversion has taken place. Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government. And freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp as it is at this moment. The martyrs of history were not fools. And our honored dead, who gave their lives to stop the advance of the Nazis, didn't die in vain. Where then is the road to peace? Well, it's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance.